I think the skills that we can equip our entrepreneurial audience with are around this one-to-one, one-to-many, potentially kind of sales journey, and how they can go from creating a product that they love and believe in to, getting it sold. So
Yep.
I think if we're going to go there for a minute, I think there's one word, and it's a dirty word because it's not understood and it's been used in the negative. Okay. But I think selling comes down to one word, and the word is persuasion. So what are you trying to do?
Right.
Right? Whether they come to me or I come to you,
Mm-hmm.
selling a product comes down to beyond getting the sale and cashing, the invoice and getting the money.
Mm-hmm.
That's the end. And then there's service and ongoing selling and potential to sell more to that one customer. The only thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to persuade that person or that company to at least try or use my products. That's it. So when I talked about questions and listening, so I'm going to listen to the problem. So I have a product. I'm here to solve problems, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
And you've come to me, because you've got some problems. Tell me about, where's all the pain for you, right? So those are questions I'm going to ask.
Yep.
And then I'm going to listen to your answer, and you're going to tell me. And I'm not asking these questions to then get to where I want to go. I'm actually asking questions to actually listen.
Yep.
That's why it's questions, listen,
Yep.
listen. So you tell me your problems, and then I go, And then I go, depending on what it is, I'm going to go deeper into your problem.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that a problem?
Yep.
Why is what you have today not working to solve that problem? How is it that you've gone 5 years with this problem? And then depending on how they come back, then I can ask now different questions that are going to lead to the solution. Is price an issue? At some point there's this value proposition moment, right?
Yep.
So all the questions and listening is part of the persuasion.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so this is where I nerd out about this stuff. So if we're getting too granular here, we can move on.
Yeah.
So where my mind goes is, okay, so I've got to ask the right questions, which means there are different ways of persuading someone to the same product. So for example, if I'm talking to a CEO, their set of problems is very different, meaning I can't sell a product to a CEO the same way that I can sell a product to a marketing manager, let's say, right?
Sure.
So how much thought do you put into the person that you're talking to, trying to understand what their specific needs are?
Right.
Because one of the big things, and I often reference this article from Harvard Business Review that I'll put in the show notes, that's what makes a good salesman. And the number one thing they found was essentially empathy, right?
Yeah. Right.
So I don't stick to the script. I'm understanding who my customer is. I'm asking questions because the truth is, if I'm selling Dean Sweetman, CEO of a company, the same way that I'm selling,
middle management,
it's not going to work.
Right.
So when you're talking about these questions,
Yep.
How granular should people get and how much should they think through? Again, I'm a nerd with this stuff, so I'll go all the way with it, right? I think it's really important. But what do you think?
I'll take you one step lower.
Mm-hmm.
You got to learn what the personality is of that person in the first minute. Because I'm going to adjust my question and my tone based on your personality.
Right.
So, now I may know you, I may not know you, but I've got to be a student of human behavior. Because selling is so complex, right? But you can learn to just be intuitive about it.
Yep.
Now, this actually works in just about every area of life. If you can be persuasive, for something, it's going to begin with having this empathetic, relational, could be a 1-minute relationship, could be a lifetime relationship.
Right.
So I'm going to assess you and your personality. and then I'm going to make the adjustment. So if you're loud and gregarious, man, I'm going toe to toe with you. We're going to have a blast, right? Because we'll just excite each other into the sale.
Yep. Yep.
If you're skeptical, and introvert, then I'm dialing all this down, and I'm getting clinical on you.
Yep. If you're data driven, if you're emotionally driven,
I'm getting detailed data on you. Like I'm coming at you like from a whole different angle. So that's probably at the front line.
Yep. And I think just before, because I want to help everyone remember when we say things like persuasion, we're working off an assumption that what we're selling we think is actually good for people.
Correct.
So I'm not going to reach out to somebody and persuade them via emotional manipulation to get them to buy something that I don't think is good. So all of this talk of persuasion, it's like we're just assuming, hey, I actually think what I'm selling you is going to make your life better, your business better. Whatever.
And that I have integrity, right?
And that I have integrity, exactly.
Yeah, right. And, you know, our audience is we're people of faith. We cloak our faith is interwoven into what we do in our life, right? At work, at home, raising children. Our faith is around everything that we do. So I'm assuming that in our audience, like we've got all these faith people, they're people of faith, and they're not going to be selling and persuading for people to get stuff and charging them more than what it's worth, and like all the things.
People as a mark to secure the bag and just like
exactly. So you know, maybe I should have said that before now, but that should go without saying.
Right. Absolutely.
Right? So yeah, there's a sense of you know, it's justified for me to persuade you to buy this product or service because I know it solves problems for you. Maybe you've come to me and you're looking for answers, so of course, you know, I'm going to do everything I can to persuade you to use my product against a competitor for all the reasons that, you know, my benefits are better than theirs. So that's a given.
Yep.
On this journey that we're talking about with questions, listening, really listening, going on the journey, listening to the customer, asking the right questions, you're going to at some point start talking about your benefits or your solutions to their problem. And this is a really interesting thing in the early days of your product or service. If you can't get to my product or service doesn't give you the solutions you need, I'm either building or selling the wrong thing, or I need to go back to the drawing board and make sure that I'm solving. 4 or 5 episodes ago, we talked about solving the needs, right, of the customer.
Yep.
Businesses are in business to solve problems for people or companies. That's all business is.
Yep. And one of the best sales tactics you can do if you don't have the answer to the problem is say, you know what, I don't have it right now.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not going to sell you something that isn't going to help or that you don't need. I'm going to come back in 6 months when I've got the solution. That's a way to close a sale right there and earn trust in somebody, right?
Or, you know, my product doesn't do this today, but here's our roadmap and this is where we're headed. We sell a lot of stuff that way. We have basic kind of software that solves a lot of problems.
Here's the value we add now, and here's the value that we're going to.
Can you do this? Can you solve that problem? We're like, not today, we can't. And a customer will sign up, like, and you'll buy, you know, they'll buy some of what you're selling if you're honest with them. But for those of us with faith, that goes without saying. Like, those are starting positions I'm going to begin with, right? When you've found me or I found you, and I'm like, Mike, we don't do that today. Right. And I've actually told customers to use another product. Like, we can't do that for you. We can do these 5 things, but those 2 things you're looking for, you need to go over there.
Yep.
And so I think that just goes without saying, but you need to say it. That's just phenomenal.
Okay. And we may have to do more episodes on this because I feel like we're just opening up all kinds of different, you know, tracks here. But that's a really good point in that I think a mistake that most founders, salespeople make is they get too impatient. So they don't play the long game with a potential customer. They want the thing now. And I think what you're saying is exactly right. By you saying, you know what, I can do this for you, but I actually can't do this, you may be actually taking some of that budget away from your business to go somewhere else. But
I'm going to delight my customer.
But you're going to delight your customer. They're going to go, you know what?
And that customer's going to tell 10 people.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. So play the long game, you know?
Always play the long game. And, you know, you got to be capitalized. Like if you don't have capital, you present yourself differently to the market because you're desperate. I got to sell this. if I don't get this, my family's not going to eat. You should never be in that position.
Right.
Like you should always either be capitalized from your second or third job, or have capital, in the bank to runway this thing so you can take 12 months and, get to profitability, whatever it is you get there. If you're selling out of desperation, you're not going to last very long.
And I think that's really obvious to people, right? When they do sell out of
desperation. Oh, you can tell.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about, let's use you as an example for a second. Let's say I have built a product or service that could help your business be more efficient in one area or another. Let's say I'm an HR platform, whatever you name it is, right?
Yep.
And I'm looking around the internet going, I think Tidely is a great customer. I think I can really help them. I'm going to track down a way to get in touch with you. So whether that's Twitter, LinkedIn, find your email.
Happens to me 10 times a week.
I was going to say, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think I read a stat that the average CEO gets reached out to just straight cold in some form or fashion, potentially sometimes 40 or 50 times a week. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm fairly anonymous, on the internet. I'm not anonymous. I'm like, but our business is not anymore. But yeah, I could get 10 a day.
Yep. So, all right. So let's say somebody is like, I want to get in touch with Dean. I want him to, hear about my product. What does that look like? What does someone like you respond to? We're talking about a CEO, person who can make a decision, right? If someone reaches out to you, you ultimately can be the one to, make a decision.
Here's my advice.
What does that look like?
Here's my advice. Don't reach out to me. If I give it 4 seconds, I might forward it to the department head. I might. Okay. Hey, Dean, we're the best, content marketers in the world, and we can up your this and that. I might send that to my marketing manager, or I might just delete it. I'm not going to, at this level, I'm not going to make a decision about a system change from a cold email. I'm not. I might forward it. That might be the best you get. So I wouldn't go for the CEO.
You would find
if you're selling, if you're selling content marketing, if you're selling engineering, like development shops, don't come to me. Find my CIO or the CTO or our marketing team.
Right.
So
it's
you're never going to get my defense.
It's almost like in the design. We almost overestimate the amount of decisions that a CEO is actually making throughout the different layers of
I'm making no system decisions. I'm making zero. All of my managers they run the business. I don't run marketing.
Right.
I don't run engineering.
Right.
I don't write written a line of code in my life. So, I'm just the wrong person to sell to.
Yep.
So,
maybe we should. Yeah. Okay. So, let's talk for a second just about before we sort of wrap this up. I guess some specific tactical things, right? So, and that's what you said is just one. Understand the level of the person in which you need to reach. Understand what they do. Understand if it's even relevant to what they do.
Right.
What are some other just straight up tactical things that you think somebody could do?
Sure.
A founder who just, they have built a product, they've done the family and friends thing, and they're at that point of the business where by brute force, they have got to introduce people to the product.
Yeah. So, I think the moves that you make in getting in front of the right people are wide and varied. Spending money on going to some kind of trade show or going to, conventions around your product or, those things are helpful. And if you got the money, sometimes you buy the booth and you go and talk to the customer. We didn't do that early days because it was expensive, but we did that kind of and still do it to some less now than we used to. I'm just trying to find ways to get in front of the right people. So, like I just said, find the right person and it's probably not the CEO if it's a bigger company. Slack didn't go to the CEOs of companies. Slack went into middle lower management
Yep.
and said, hey, try this internal communications tool. Fast forward, sold to Salesforce at 28 billion or whatever it was. So find, if you, and it comes back to this, if the product works and it's solving problems, people are going to want it. So it comes back to product market fit. It's hard to sell junk. I don't care how good you are.
Yep.
You might think you can sell ice to Eskimos, but if your ice has got cracks in it and holes in it and melts fast, and it's just hard to sell crap. So, there's a term in software, it's called crapware.
Yeah.
Like
right.
it's hard to sell crapware,
Yeah.
and it's hard to sell shoddy workmanship and, anyway, so it's gotta be awesome. And so it can solve one problem. Slack solved one problem that iMessage didn't, that all the other messaging things didn't solve. Inter-office communication in a little standalone widget that you put on the side of your computer and then create channels and I got, so just solve one problem with something really great and it will sell itself. And so that's where you've always got to begin. And then you're going to use all the techniques and stuff we talked about. But I would argue that if I can't get beyond my 500 to 1,000 associate sphere, I don't think my product's very good.
Yep.
And certainly in a scalable thing like, software or whatever, but services and products around, building tables or doing home model renovations, I get a good buddy. He builds homes and does home remodels. The guy's got work stacked and racked for months. And he just does great work at a reasonable price. And he puts a little sign like this big in front of the yard. And the guy, this has been like 20 years, right?
Yep.
Through recessions and this and that. He just got tons of work. And so you've just got to, it's not about, depending on what it is, it's not about going and spending it. I investors wanting me to spend a fortune on marketing and buying ads. And, I'm like, no, there's only X amount of customers any kind of month wanting and looking for my product anyway. But I got to spend all this money to, put my acquisition costs through the roof. It just, we just had this one product that solved one problem and it was really nifty. Wasn't pretty. Like our UI, we're just changing the UI of our main product now. It's like year 7, but it worked and it's simple.
Yep.
And it just, and then word of mouth just went bananas and, kind of away you go. So there's the selling thing around listening and questions and persuasion and closing and all of that. But man, if your problem solves something that people need, it'll just go. Then you're just managing it. And
it's funny you say that. I actually think Barn reposted this clip. I think it was yesterday, the day before, and I saw it. And it's an interview with Kanye West. And Kanye West is recalling a time of having a conversation he had with Elon Musk, and he's talking to Elon, and he says, "Elon, I just want to do deals like you. I want to do deals like you." And Elon's response was, "I don't do deals. I build things."
That's it.
Which is just
what an answer.
Just a boss response, right? But I think that gets down to a lot of what we're saying is that oftentimes, and listen, there's a whole market for training salespeople to sell bad products because a lot of the products that are out there are bad, right? We're not even talking about that. We're talking about I've built something I believe in, and so I'm going to give everything I have to get that into the market. And I think that just totally sums up what the spirit behind and underneath the way we at least approach sales is. And that is that I really believe in this thing. I really believe it can help. Okay, so go ahead. We can say something?
Yeah, no, 100%. I couldn't agree more.
So before we close, let's just talk resources. You mentioned you've read a lot of books. Is there anything off the top of your head that would be helpful to someone who just needs...
I don't know all the new stuff. I'm old school.
Same.
I'm Zig Ziglar, Og Mandino.
Man, I'm still Tony Robbins all the way.
Tony Robbins. Yeah. I was, when I was learning to sell, I was pre-Tony Robbins. I was super old school.
Yep.
And some of those are classics like Think and Grow Rich, you know, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I'm like,
Yeah.
those are all the books I read. I've not read a sales book in 20 years, to be honest. So
The truth
I
is,
wouldn't even know the
everything is
ones
just
that are out there.
it's just a retelling of the same stuff, honestly, the
Right.
newer stuff. And there's actually a lot of really good stuff out there about SaaS sales. I've read a couple of them over the years. You know, Salesforce, I think, came out with a book, the head of growth there. So there's a lot of good stuff out there. But I agree, like the old school stuff, I still always find to be the best.
I just love the stories. I think it was the greatest salesman who ever lived. Og Mandino, you know, was a guy. He's an author, and he'd write these fables, which became quite common later on. You know, these fables about who moved my cheese, and there was one about fish, and like there was one coming out every 2 minutes at some point. But these old selling fables are really kind of cool. And you know, so yeah, dig out some of those and read them.
Yeah, there's a book, probably one of my favorites. It's called When I Stop Talking, You'll Know I'm Dead. It's by a guy named Jerry Weintraub, who born and raised in Queens, ended up producing all the Oceans films, managed Bob Dylan, invented John Denver, managed Elvis. And it's just, it's not sales strategy, it's stories that you can just go, wow, man, this was a guy who really added value. So we'll put some resources in the show notes, and I'm sure we'll do more about this, some sales talk.
It's such an important part for the people listening around building their businesses, and it's obviously a passion of mine, to make sure people are equipped to be able to sell and talk about their business confidently. So I'm sure we'll do more of this.
Yep, absolutely. Awesome. Well, as usual, thanks, Dean. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, thank you, man. Awesome.
We're excited to keep building this thing. So we will talk to you all next week. Again, follow us on Instagram, Kings and Priests Podcast. We're on Twitter, Kings and Priests Pod. Reach out to me via email, mw@vast.faith, with any ideas. If you want to come on the show, pitch us an idea. We are still in the early stages of this thing and excited to keep building. So we will see you next week.
Rock and roll. See you, mate.